Hey, hi, hello, friends, and I'm back. So, today the video I want to talk about is the, back on Tinder video. I know a lot has happened since then. There's always stuff happening. I'm going to try and make my next video a little bit more current, but I got swept up in a project that I was working on. Not a work thing. This is more like a personal thing. I am making a changing table, like refinishing a changing table for my friend as a present for her and her baby. This is not the friend that I made the lasagnas for. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. But yeah, that different friend. Anyway, long story short, let's talk about Chantal, shall we? So, Chantal's had a pretty interesting time. Who would have thunk it that around payday, her and Nader would break up and then get back together? If I'm saying his name wrong, I don't care about him, but I do care because there's other people named Nader who I think potentially might feel hurt if I mispronounce her name. So if you guys know the correct pronunciation, please do let me know. With all that said, I am using Just Saying's clip, and I want to say thank you to her because that stream was like 4 hours long, and there is very, very few chances that I have to sit down and just watch TV for that prolonged a period of time. And I need to be able to like make notes and like pay attention to her streams because I like talking about it. I can't just like put something on in the background like I would with like 9 Perfect Strangers and just sort of listen to it while I like fold laundry or whatever. Anyway, long-winded way of saying, let's get into this, shall we?
His Facebook says I'm so done. I want to talk about him because he doesn't like, I still like, he doesn't think I respect him and I do. I was supposed to help him with something today, important, and I don't feel good and my depression's bad and I didn't feel like it.
All right. 2 things here. One, she says often that she doesn't want to talk about him, but she inevitably always goes back to talking about him. Part of that is, of course, the fact that, she's very impulsive and she doesn't know, how to stop herself from doing things. So even though it's not in her best interest to be talking about this guy, she's going to keep talking about this guy. That said, that's not all it is. The other reason why she talks about him so much is simple. She doesn't have anything else going in her life. There is no friend or no friends that she hangs out with. There's no other dates that she goes on. She doesn't have a job that she can talk about. She doesn't like going out places. All she does is eat and date this guy. And date is a very loose term. They don't actually go anywhere and do anything romantic. Like, partner and I dated for about a year before we were engaged. And we went out to like a ton of places. Like, we didn't travel because I was still in school then and it was like hard. And so just time off for me was always tough. And same thing for him. He was like pretty early in his career, and so it was hard for him as well. But we did go places. Like, we went to New York semi-frequently because it's like only a few hours away from where I used to live. And, he'd see me like Broadway. We'd go to like fancy restaurants, all the wining and dining stuff that you do when you are in a new relationship. And this is a very new relationship. The amount of effort that partner puts out for me, to take me places to do things, and that I vice versa do for him, is more than any point that I have seen with Nader and Chantal. And she's claiming to be in love with this guy, right? He has literally taken her nowhere and done nothing fun with her, because if he had, she would have talked about it. But the reason she keeps bringing it back to him, the reason why she keeps talking about him, because it is one of the only pieces of intrigue that she has left in her life. It is one of the only fun things that she has to talk about. And I mean fun like quotation marks, things that she considers fun. Doing drugs might be something that's fun for her, but it's not fun for us to watch. Like, I don't get any kind of enjoyment from watching her do drugs, right? Like, it doesn't do anything for me. She gets slower, she gets duller, she gets significantly less entertaining. So 9 times out of 10, the only thing that she has going for her in her life are her dating life is Nader, right? And anything else that she has, she'll throw out there, but they're not like prolonged. Like take her grandmother's death. She could have genuinely, if she wanted to be like an open, honest person about it, she could have sat down and talked about her grandmother's death like a human being rather than being high on stream. She could have sat and she could have explained how, like having a loss like that impacted her. She could have talked about, how it's been the interplay between that and her addiction. She could have talked about the internal struggles that she felt and how they reflect on like her actions outside of herself, like how she treated her family, how she's been treating Pete. the deeper realization that it brings her. But she didn't internalize any of that, and so there's nothing there to talk about other than my grandmother died and I'm sad. People talk about grief on this channel, not on this channel, but on this platform. People do it very well. They explain the process that it goes through, and losing someone, grief like that, it's a very human thing. I guarantee you, most of you have lost someone in their life, and if you haven't yet, I'm sorry to say, but you will at some point if you're lucky. And I genuinely mean that. You know, it's a very fortunate thing to have known someone and loved someone and to have lost them. Because otherwise, the alternative is you never love anyone, you never meet anyone, you never lose them, right? Like, that's a horrible existence. So she doesn't do any of that. She can't do any of that. She can't internalize anything. She has no ability to reflect on any of her actions. She has no ability to think critically about any of her actions. She's just on here, just doing whatever. And because of that, it becomes very stagnated and very boring. There's only so many times you can respond to people in the chats before you get bored. There's only so many stories you have to tell about yourself, right? Even if you're a very interesting person, right? Like, what's that guy, the most interesting man in the world? Even he will run out of stories to tell if he's online every day talking about his best tales. And Chantel is 37, and she's been a shut-in for almost 4 years now that she's been on YouTube. She has no friends to speak of. And in that time, it's not like she's made a lot of new memories. So she really only has maybe 20 years worth of material to draw on. And given what her personality is like and what she's told us herself about what she was like back then, I can't imagine that her life before camera was that much more fascinating. So we're always going to come back to this. That's why we always keep coming back to it at the end of the day. And it's going to piss Nader off, right? It's going to piss him off because he's not exactly an upstanding guy. For all that he's made a YouTube now and that he's uploading content on there, it's not as if he is this really charismatic, really great guy. Like, what I mean to say is he's not like a Shane Dawson, right? Someone with a really garbage personality, but who's really, really good at, like, presenting himself, putting himself on camera. The reason that Shane Dawson got away with it for so long is because of how charismatic he is. Right? He's not like that. And we have the tales of his abuse. Unfortunately, his reputation preceded him. So we have got tales of his abuse that came out far before we ever really got to meet him or know him. Not that I think that's really changed anybody's mind. And what that results in is essentially us labeling him an abuser, honestly, rightfully, I think, before we ever really know anything else about him. And so there's nothing for us to, like, attach ourselves to. We're not going to get emotionally invested in it. Most of us, I should say, because there are some people out there who will get emotionally invested, right? So he's not going to like that Chantel's continuing to do this, because Chantel's going to come online. She's going to talk about the fact that, you know, he's doing this or he's doing Y, and she might not even realize how incriminating the information is, partially because she doesn't have all that much lived experience being out there in the dating world, and partially because I think he gaslights her a lot into believing certain things that maybe aren't true. And Chantel's really, really good at being, like, delusional. She's really good at, like, not paying any attention to anything she doesn't want to pay attention to. She's good at blocking out any information that might contradict her worldview. That's why she told that story about the lady who was sitting out on the porch and she's got, like, you know, condoms all over the door, and she says she's friends of Nader, and, you know, she went inside, like, Chantel went inside and she confirmed with Nader, and Nader's like, nah, I have no idea who she is. Like, if that happened to me, I would be so suspicious, especially if there were other, like, telltale signs of something, you know, hanky happening. Like, in Urdu, we say dal mein kuch kala hai. It just means that there's something, like, there's something dark in the dal. Food metaphor. But it just means that there's something up. Like, something is up here. Something is suspicious here. And she doesn't seem to really realize that because she doesn't really care. She doesn't want it to be true. She wants everyone to be wrong, and she wants this to be the epic love. It blinds her to reality. And he's not going to enjoy this, and it's going to end up creating more and more of these cycles. It's going to create more and more conflict between them. For all that I think he's only using her, I don't think that he is the kind of person who takes well to having his reputation be thrashed online. Right? And I'm sure he's got some family and friends out there as well that he doesn't want thinking the worst of him either, right? No man is a silo.
I'm dressing up for Tinder Fix. Yeah, like... Here's the thing, okay? It's not just a jealousy ploy, you know why? So here's the thing, let me tell you something. If it is really over, then I want to get under a new man as fast as possible, even though my heart's broken.
Okay. This is not a jealousy poll. And that she's getting ready for Tinder. I don't believe that. I don't think she's getting ready for Tinder. I think she's getting ready in the hopes that Nader will see this and he'll call her and then they'll get back together, because Chantel loves playing mind games with him, you know, and she knows that he watches her channel. So she knows that he's probably going to pay attention to this, especially with the title that she's used. This is her way of saying, oh, you don't want to communicate. You don't think this is right. You know, like, oh, this is how you want to play the game? Okay, fine, you know? And this is her way of, like, indirectly talking to him, like a very passive-aggressive way of communication. I personally, frankly, think that's ridiculous. Y'all are grown-ass people, like, talk to each other. But this is how she chooses to communicate with him. As for jumping from one person to the next, I am not an expert in romantic relationships like that. I have a very terrible history of being the bad person in a breakup. And I don't mean that, like, the person who initiates the breakup. I do genuinely mean that 9 times out of 10, I was the garbage person in the relationship. I tend to be emotionally unavailable. Who would have thought? So I tend to be a little bit emotionally unavailable, and it's a flaw, genuinely. Like, the fact that, you know, partner and I got along so well and that we worked out so well is a testament both to his, like, patience with me and also mostly therapy. So I have not really experienced that, but the experience that I have in my personal life, I can tell you, jumping from one person to the next doesn't help, because then I burned 2 potential relationships, you know? Like, I definitely burned the one with that I just ended, but I also burned the one that I, like, have initiated. And that person, in my opinion, if they're a person that I actually like, and I'm still a hot mess because I'm taking a lot of residual emotions from my previous relationship into it, you can ruin that relationship before it's ever really had the chance to blossom anyway. So it's best to give yourself the kind of time you need to, like, do a little better, you know, just to, like, reconvene, just to get on page with yourself, find out what you need, find out what happened, what went wrong with that relationship, what you can change about yourself so that you don't put yourself in that position again, because you can't change others. You can only change what you can about yourself. And then from there, go into another relationship. Don't just hop and hop and hop and hop. There's a lot that you can take away from being single for a while. There's a lot that you can learn about yourself by being single for a while. But I don't mean the way that Chantel was single, which is unwillingly and definitely, like, I don't know how to phrase this exactly, but she did everything she could to not think about herself during that time period. I guess it's, like, the best way I can phrase it. Ooh, you guys can really tell. By the way, as much as I would like for this to be acne, it is not. I told you guys a little while ago I had a pretty severe allergic reaction to something. And this is all of that. You can still see the hives on my face. They're so bad.
Because I need exercise. It's the only form of exercise I enjoy.
I mean, she would enjoy more forms of exercise if she actually did more forms of exercise. I can tell you, maybe this is just a me thing, but I have, like, extreme, like, lethargy when it comes to going to the gym. Like, I hate going there because I get sweaty and I don't like sweating in public, but I actually have a good time once I'm actually exercising. Like, it's something about moving and releasing endorphins that feels really, really nice. It gives me an outlet to just be in one place and listen to my music. I get very, very jittery. I'm a very, like a nervous person. You guys see I talk with my hands a lot too. I'm just a very, like, nervous person a lot too. And so just being someplace where I can exercise, and even if it's not, like, the pain of it isn't enjoyable, the idea of doing, like, moving and getting to listen to music is something that I really look forward to. And I do really like that. And then my gym has a like, they have, like, these massage chairs that you can also go to for, like, 10 minutes at the end. So I do that as well. So that's really nice as well. She would like it more if she tried. And honestly, exercise is one of those things where it sucks the first few times you do it, and then your muscles become accustomed to exercising, and then they loosen up as well, and then you have a better time. And I can tell you, as someone who has back problems, oh my God, if I don't work out, I get such bad back problems. Like, it is it's a miracle cure for that. You would think that it would make it worse, but actually a moderate amount of exercise, like 3 to 4 times a week, is just what my back needs. If I don't do it, I will suffer more.
He doesn't realize that I don't mean to disrespect him by standing him up or ghosting him. It's just that my mental health is really bad, and it hurts me that I let him down.
Okay. She mentions that he asked to do something, that he wanted to do something with her, and she's just like, well, I just wasn't, my mental health was bad and I didn't want to do it, and so, I'm not trying to be disrespectful by not showing up. I just, my mental health is bad. Mental health is not a get out of jail free card. I know she's gonna call me like a leech and a liar and all of those fun things that she likes to label all of Hater Nation. I have mental health issues myself, not the way that she does. I'm not comparing the two. Everybody's struggles are different. I have anxiety. I've said this several times. I have pretty bad anxiety. I had a small bout of depression in the past, mostly caused by hormonal imbalance. But all people have issues that they struggle with to one degree or another, right? Hers might be worse than most. That is not an excuse for you to not make an effort to do anything. It is irrelevant that you were having a bad day. If you cannot drag yourself out of bed to go help someone who you promised that you would be helping, that's on you. You need to go get that addressed. Go talk to a doctor, go talk to a therapist, get on the right medication, do the right exercises. I don't mean that like physical exercises, but also those. But like mental exercises, like my therapist will often assign me homework. She's like, I want you to do these 3 things. Or one of the things she told me was, every time you have a negative self-thought, I want you to write it down. And then at night, I want you to read them back to yourself. Right? Like go through them again with a critical eye, not like in the moment. Because I think sometimes like, God, I'm so bad at this. Why? What was the context of that? Write it down and then think about it later. Like, does that actually make me a bad person? So you can say that you're having a hard time, but if you're not making any active effort to get better, then it's not on the other person to always give you a get out of jail free card. I'm not going to forgive someone for being bad to me because they're having a hard day if they themselves are making their situation worse. It makes my sympathy for them lack. And this is me saying all of this to someone who's not Natter, because I don't give a singular shit if she hurts his feeling, because I think he's a garbage person. But in general, she does this with a lot of people in her life, right? Like with her mom, her grandmother passed away and her mom probably needed support, and Chantal just didn't. She just didn't offer anything. She didn't offer any support, any help, any nothing. She sat in her house and got high and made herself a problem. So you can do this if you want. Just understand that people aren't obligated or are going to be in the right mind frame to extend you any kind of sympathy, nor should they be, quite frankly. Because when you behave in this manner, you make your emotional problems their emotional burden. And that is not a fair thing to do. It's not a fair thing to do to anyone, but it is especially not a fair thing to do to people you love.
I don't even care about money. I care about how you treat me. I care about, I don't know, like I'm just not mentally well. Yeah, you should understand when I need space, but when he ghosts or ignores me, you get mad. Exactly. That's the thing. I flip out on him. Like, I flip out. Like, I just expect him to, like, understand me, but I don't understand him.
It's not a matter of understanding, like, that that you guys don't understand each other or whatever, like, whatever she said. You think that there's a different set of rules for you that there are for everybody else. That's why it's okay if you blow him off and ignore him, but it's not okay if he does the same to you. She has massive self-esteem issues, like massive self-esteem issues. And I get being on the internet has probably made them worse. And I'm sure that in part that has to do with mine and other reaction channels talking about her. But your self-esteem is not my problem, right? Like, I am not out here calling her horrible names. So I'm like not actively contributing to that. If you still feel a ways about what I'm saying because you still feel like I'm attacking you, even though I am not being like mean to you, I'm only pointing out things that I think are wrong about your behavior. If you still feel attacked by them, even though I'm not talking to you and I'm not really talking like negatively about, you know what I mean? Like I'm not disparaging the way that she looks or an aspect of herself that she has no control over. I often criticize her behavior because that's something she can change. I don't even really talk about her weight outside of what it says about her as a person. So if you still feel shamed by what I'm saying or doing, have you considered that maybe you need to address that with someone on your own? That you need to maybe talk to somebody to get that under control, because that's not like feeling that kind of shame is a signifier of having deeper emotional problems. Feeling uncomfortable like that all the time. And that's why she plays these games with Nader all the time. She just wants constant reassurance, constant affirmations of love, right? The unconditional love that we talked about. She wants to be love bombed all of the time. It's an unreasonable expectation to place on your partner. And even if it wasn't an unreasonable expectation, it's unhealthy to want it. Right? I don't need partner to shower me with undying love and devotion every single day, for him to respond to my text right away, for any of that stuff. I don't need that, because I know that at the end of the day, partner loves me and I love partner, and we're gonna be cool. You know, we're gonna chill. We're gonna be fine. I know that even if he doesn't answer my text when he's at work all day, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to be concerned. I don't think that there's anybody, like, it doesn't matter how many people slide like into his DMs or whatever. I don't have any fear that he's going to leave me, because I am secure in who I am as a person, and I know that he loves me. If you don't have that, if you're insecure and you're looking for external validation, it's nothing the other person says is ever going to be enough. And because Chantal is so insecure, she doesn't realize that she's placed a set of expectations for him that she doesn't have for herself. Like, she doesn't think to herself, oh, you know, I want to be left alone right now. Am I extending that courtesy to him? No, I'm not. Okay, maybe I should stop. She doesn't realize that those two things go hand in hand. You can't expect to be treated like royalty and treat your partner like garbage. And once more, this is me saying for any relationship, not specifically Chantal's, because, again, fuck Cokie. And as for her blowing him off and not wanting to do things with him and not caring about money, I don't think Chantal cares about money, because right now she has all of the money. She's never really viewed, I think, money as I think she views money the same way that she views everything else in her life. It's just something to bring her pleasure, which I think is fine. You shouldn't hoard money for the sake of hoarding money. But I also don't think that Chantal cares about money the way that a lot of other people do, where it's like, well, I bought this, I paid for this. I think Chantal is not above using money as a coercive tactic to get people to stay with her. Like buying people things, the way we've seen Amber Lynn buy like 4,000 gifts for her girlfriends.
The whole thing is fucked and toxic beyond anything, so...
Yeah, the whole thing is fucked and toxic beyond anything. But I'm going to go back to him. I'm going to go back to him because having somebody who is toxic as shit is still better than being alone. That's what she's saying here.
Maybe it's just better. I'm an independent woman. Pay my own bills. I wasn't feeling...
She's an independent woman now. But for the first year or so of her life on YouTube, she was an independent woman. And for longer than that, she's been unemployed and she's been living with BB off of his income. So she's an independent woman now. And many would say even then, she's only independent financially. There's a lot of other things that, for example, can Chantal function just living by herself on her own? For all that she talks about Pete's not being able to do it, Pete has lived alone by himself before, and I'm sure that he can do again. He might have to take more Ubers and public transportation to get to the comic book store, but he could do it. Can Chantal do that? No, I don't think she can. I think she'd emotionally spiral. And more importantly, who would help her wear her socks?
Good. I woke up. I was supposed to help him, take him somewhere to a course, and I didn't go. So, but I texted him in like advance and said, just go. I have all his clothes, and he has no clean underwear. I don't like going over there when he's angry at me, so I'm waiting until things blow over a bit.
That is fucking terrible. I really don't like people who are like, I don't like going over there when he's angry. I mean, with Koki, genuinely, she should wait until he's no longer angry. Better yet, she should never go back there. But yeah, don't put yourself in harm's way. If he's abused you once, he can do it again. That being said, if someone is angry at you, you are not the victim of their anger because if you're the one who induced it, right? Like, she has all of his clothes. She's like, oh yeah, he has to go to a course. You go to your course, but I can't take you. I'm telling you this a day in advance, but I have all of your clothes. He shouldn't have given her his clothes, and he should be doing his own laundry as a grown-ass man. That said, you currently are in possession of all of his clothes. How the fuck is he supposed to go anywhere? I'm guessing it's not like 100% of his clothes, but she's saying that he doesn't have any of his clean underwear. If he was like, if you create an expectation in someone that you are going to do something for them, right? Like, say I go to partner and I say, hey, I'm going to make lunch tomorrow. And then an hour before, he has to eat, he's like, hey, you said you were going to make lunch. Where's lunch? And I say, oh, I can't do that anymore. You go ahead and just order something, right? Or go get pickup, like go get takeout or something. But I have the car, so you're going to have to either walk there or figure something else out, right? If I do that, then he hasn't, like, it's reasonable for him to get upset. Because while he would not have expected me to make lunch for him, I said I would be doing that, and he planned accordingly. And now you have put him in the position where he has to now, like, figure something else out. And I'm using lunch as a very small example, and obviously this is easily solvable in our case. But, like, he can't, like, go and buy a bunch more clothes, right? So how exactly is he supposed to go to this course?
She needs content, go back on Twitter. I need to work on myself at the same time, but I want to have, like, a healthy sexual relationship with somebody. I don't want to have an unhealthy relationship with somebody. This is, like, just nuts. Jesus. Why did I get all dolled up?
Okay. I don't like it when people say that you can't be in a relationship if that you have to love yourself before someone else can love you. You can't be in a relationship if you have like self-esteem issues, because that implies that people who have self-esteem issues are like shouldn't be in a loving relationship. Sometimes being in a loving relationship can help push you to get better, at least initially, because it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it for them, and hopefully it turns into I want to do it for me as well. With all that said, I don't think that that's really true for Chantal. I don't think that Chantal is particularly capable of doing multiple things at once. She's never shown any aptitude for it before. And more importantly, I think that Koki actively makes it harder for Chantal to get better. She doesn't seem to see that the way that he like emotionally manipulates her. And given that she is not in therapy and she has no ability to be like self-introspective and to look at stuff and think, oh, okay, like this may be bad for me, I think that any healing she has to do has to come offline, away from this guy. I don't think that there's ever going to be a situation in which she'll be able to like have a relationship with him and continue forward. And that's what she's getting back to here. She's saying, I want to have a healthy sexual relationship. She doesn't want to have a healthy sexual relationship with anyone else. In the wise words of Dr. House, like, men are pigs. They'll have sex with anything. Find somebody else to have sex with. I'm joking. I don't think men are pigs, and, I'm obviously being facetious. But genuinely, she can find someone else to have sex with. If she really wants to have a sexual relationship, find somebody, like a person, a friends with benefit situation on Tinder. I am sure that she can manage that. She just has to try. She doesn't want to. That's the biggest thing with Chantal. Most of her life is a holding pattern because she finds what she deems to be like the minimum acceptable product, right? Like MVP, minimum viable product. And she'll just stay there forever until she dies because she's like, this is fine. And for most people, that's not what they want. They don't want the stopgap measure. They want the best thing, right? Most people strive to make their life, their situation better. Chantal doesn't seem to want that in any area of her life with any degree of consistency. And once more, I mean, I come back to therapy because that is the solution to this. And by solution, I do mean it's a thing that can potentially help. But it's never going to help. Nothing is ever going to help unless she actively tries to get better.
Ready for the day, just in case I need to go anywhere. With relationship, you can't be reliable, and if you have insecurities, you're right, I'm not reliable. I am for some things, but sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I have to think about myself. You know, I've been there a lot for him, and I've done a lot for him.
I don't know about him in particular, but I can definitely say with other people, you only seem to think of yourself. Your grandmother died, and the only person you thought about was yourself and how it affected you. Pete was going through a hard time mentally. He might still be going through a hard time mentally, and you only seem to think about yourself. You know, you even abandoned your fucking cat so you could go spend days upon days upon days at Koki's house. So you're not a reliable person in any aspect of your life. I don't know what you're talking about. And when it comes to just being there for him, it's not your responsibility to take care of him, especially given who Koki is. But if you've promised that you're going to do a thing and you leave somebody hanging, it doesn't matter. You can't just suddenly be like, well, I had to think about myself in that situation. Unless you had a debilitating situation come up, it's just you being an asshole. And you tend to monopolize a lot on your mental illness and say, well, it was a mental illness, that's why I couldn't do it. When in reality, 9 times out of 10, it's just laziness.
I feel like an asshole. Like, no matter what, I should have never been verbally so abusive. If he was genuine...
Shouldn't have been so abusive, but a little abusive is fine.
You wouldn't be questioning everything. Yeah, but is it just like my own insecurities, or is he sincere, like, with his intentions? I don't know, and it's driving me crazy, and my body's acting like... for a reason, I feel like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm being a bit cautious, but at the same time, am I just being insecure? And it's driving me crazy. I don't know what's what. Everything is playing with my head. Everybody's playing with my head. I don't want to go out, Annie.
How exactly is that not just insecurity? And because she's like, well, I don't know if it's like, you know, everybody's playing with my head. And who's everybody? Who's everyone playing with your head, right? Who is included in the everyone? Because the only person that you're in a relationship with right now is Dom. You don't even seem to have a relationship with Pete or your family anymore. So is Dom the one who's playing with your head? Because that's what it seems like in this situation. And if he is playing with your head, why the fuck is he doing that? That's not a nice thing to do to somebody. That's not a kind thing to do to somebody that you're in a relationship with. Like, partner doesn't play with my head. Well, he, like, scratches my head sometimes. But that's not what I mean. So, who is included in that everyone is playing with my head? Why don't you examine that a little bit more? You know, like, dig into that a little bit.
I don't know why. I just don't want to go out. Before I do any drugs. I just don't want to go out. That's my problem. I don't want to go out. It's too sunny. And just like the thought of going out and doing like errands with somebody just freaks me out.
Yes. The horror of being known. The horror of being seen. Chantal has a really great amount of difficulty with the perception that other people have of her. It stems from insecurity. I'm not immune to that myself. I had a lot of that when I was in high school. It's the same way that she often says, well, that's not a thing I like doing. I don't like crocheting, right? It's the same way that I used to say, I don't like physics when I was in high school. If you guys don't get the vibe from me just by how like high strung I am in my videos, I was a straight A student, and I would tell anyone who listened that I didn't like physics because I wasn't good at physics. It's not a subject that came naturally to me. Honestly, even to this day, it was like, I think back on it, it gives me shudders. It's just chemistry, biology, English, most subjects, even math, came relatively easily to me, by which I mean like I can, like, it's not easy for me to do, but I understood the concepts of it. Then it was just like application. Physics, I just had difficulty visualizing. And it was so hard for me. And so I told everyone I didn't like it. I wanted to make it seem like I didn't care for the subject, and so I wasn't really working at it, and that's why I was bad. When in reality, I spent a lot of time working on it, and I was just not capable when it came to that subject. I didn't do as well. That was like my first and only B. in high school. I got a couple more B's when I was in college. But it was one of those situations where I didn't want people to think that it was something that I couldn't do. So it was better to give them an excuse for why I wasn't doing better, you know? This is the same thing that she does here. And it's a thing that a lot of insecure people do, myself included, right? I've always said that I talk about Chantal because I relate to her. She doesn't want people to think that, you know, she doesn't go outside because being outside in the hot sun makes her sweat because of her overweight, because of the fact that she's overweight. She doesn't like saying, you know, I don't like going to like amusement parks because I can't fit into the rides, right? She doesn't want to say that to anyone. So she'll say, oh, I just don't like amusement. There's so many people there, right? Rather than saying, I can't fit into the rides, or like, I don't like going to, I don't know, like to big concerts because that large crowd gives me anxiety. It's more that, you know, oh, I don't want to be in a crowd that big. What if someone makes fun of me? What if I can't fit through something? You know? It's the same way that, like, I have a friend of mine who is incredibly tall. Like, I mean, for a girl, she's like 6'3". She doesn't like wearing heels. She'll tell everybody who listens that, like, she doesn't like wearing heels because, you know, she doesn't look good. She doesn't say that. She says that, well, I don't like wearing heels. They're, like, very uncomfortable, and I don't really believe in that anyway. But in reality, she doesn't like wearing heels because she got teased a lot when she was younger. And even now, she gets teased a little bit sometimes. Right? Not by me, not by us, but people tend to disguise their insecurities a lot of times by excusing it as something they don't want to do rather than something they feel they can't do. I've done it myself in the past. I'm sure I'll do it again in the future. And for Foodie, a lot of it is just going outside and being perceived. She doesn't like people looking at her because she's so uncomfortable with the way that she looks. So she disguises it and she says, I don't like going outside because I don't like people, rather than saying, I'm afraid that people don't like me. And the biggest, I think, example of this is, if you guys remember when she went on the walk and she heard someone call her fat, and she had like a meltdown in the car.
I hate the city. I want to leave. Agoraphobic, I think so.
She's not living in the city, she's living in the suburbs, and she's mentioned several times that she wants to move to like Quebec or Toronto because there's nothing to do here and it's so boring, and you know, I just want to move there where there's a lot more stuff happening. You can't have it both ways. As for agoraphobia, you don't have agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is a very complex mixture of like social anxiety and the inability to leave your house. It's a pretty serious diagnosis. People who have agoraphobia can't leave their house. Like, with Chantal, she has no problem leaving the house to go to like drive-through after drive-through after drive-through, driving like 2.5 fucking hours away to go get like Korean style corn dogs. That's an agoraphobic person couldn't do that. She seems to have very selective agoraphobia. I'm sure she has social anxiety, but I think her social anxiety stems from self-esteem issues. She doesn't have social anxiety just to have social anxiety. Well, I suppose nobody has social anxiety to have social anxiety. What I mean is that her social anxiety stems from others' perception of her. It's a self-esteem issue. And it sucks because it is actually relatively fixable, if only she would go see a therapist.
Aligning with Negs. I think Negs is funny. Like, he has a very dark sense of humor sometimes, so I think...
I've left this clip in here unedited because I want you guys to see what Negs is like. I'm sure if you guys are here, then you guys already know how I feel about Negs. I'm not a fan of him. This has got nothing to do, by the way, with him criticizing Hater Nation. Go ahead, criticize. I think everybody deserves equal criticism, us included, right? Absolutely. There's a couple other creators that I watch who also criticize Hater Nation. I'm fine with it. One of them, I think, is Cecil McFly. I think that there is legitimate criticism to be had of Hater Nation. That's not what Negs does, and that's not what Negs is. So I'm going to let this play.
If you're very offended by things, you probably don't want to watch. But he's also like, I'm sorry, but he calls out the other side like Hater Nation or whatever. Like, he just did one today about friggin' no life of a free spirit. Apparently driving, like, you guys do the same thing to me, but whenever, like, somebody calls out someone else for doing the same thing, you guys don't give a shit.
Hey, Callie, I just wanted to put this in the Discord server so I wasn't censored, you stupid fucking ignorant schizo cunt.
Chantal has multiple times said how much she doesn't like people calling her a cunt. right? But here she is endorsing someone who does the same. Once more, I don't think that guilt by association is a thing, but she's on here defending him, right? And endorsing him, which is why I'm saying this. If he was just a person that existed, right, I don't think that she needs to even say anything. If she occasionally commented on a video, I wouldn't particularly give a shit. But when you come on here and you actively defend and talk about somebody the way that she did with Shani for Christ, then it's fair criticism. By the way, don't call people schizos. That is abbreviated for schizophrenic, which is a pretty serious mental health diagnosis. It's not a nice thing to do. Don't do that. It's a slur, albeit not one of the worst ones.
You and your this piece of trans wannabe boyfriend, your man wannabe boyfriend.
And there's the transphobia. That's where that is. Can I also say, where is exactly the evidence of Callie or Shane being racist? I want to see it. I want to see it.
We're nothing but bigots. Nobody's scared of you. Nobody gives a fuck about either one of you. F you both. Shane, I'll knock your teeth out, you punk. What do you think about that? Callie, I'd slap the piss out of you if you said the shit into my face that you said on the internet. I would slap the teeth out of both of your faces if you said any of the things to me in person that you said to anybody on the internet. I don't give a f. Clip this, put it in your videos. F you both. You both deserve to have a fucking. You deserve to have the boots put to you. You do.
First of all, if you wanted to go do anything to Callie and Shane, you'd need to buy a ticket to go see them. And I'm not sure you could afford that. Second of all, great job there, making yourself look like the good guy. Okay, that will be it for the video. As always, there was a lot more that she said in that video. There's a lot more that she did. I skimmed through most of her videos. I can't, even the abbreviated work that that Just Saying is doing, sometimes Chantel is just unbearable. So please do go check out Just Saying's channel. I really couldn't do this without her. And if there's something critical that I missed from that video, do point me in that direction. I am just not interested. I know she mentioned at some point she's like, oh, you know, I could keep your secrets, blah, blah. I don't give a crap about any of that. And he doesn't have really any secrets anymore. Chantel blabbed them all over the internet. Right? Any secret she thinks she's keeping, she's genuinely just being delusional. And if she hasn't said them yet, she's going to. We just have to wait her out. So, all that is to say, hey, if you like this channel, please give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down. That's totally okay. If you're here from the antis, whatever. If you're here from the anti-hater nation, then give me a thumbs down. I don't give a crap. Leave me a comment down below if there's something you'd like me to really know. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell. Hit all. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram. I've got Twitter. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as a tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job I'm doing here, you want me to continue, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to, and it's not necessary, but I really appreciate it, and it really does help the channel out. I have finally got all of my sound equipment, and I'm still testing it, and I'm hoping to have all that set up in like the next few days. So I'm like really excited about that. And that's all thanks to you beautiful guys. Thank you. Every one of my patrons is absolutely like ravishingly stunning. Like you guys don't even know. I know. But the rest of you, you don't even know. And if you join my Patreon, then that means that you too are ravishingly beautiful. So, I want to say a special thank you to D. Higgins and Oceana Song. Thank you guys so much. You make the world turn. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel. And I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Dainty B, Jam Beans, Sidra Z, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just a Jude, Kate O, and a special thank you to my $25 patrons, D. Higgins and Oceana Song.